You might be eligible for adjustment of status, and the only thing stopping you from getting your green card is that old removal order. What are the chances that you're going to get detained when you show up to your USCIS interview? I focus my practice on family-based immigration, so I send people to USCIS interviews almost every day. I have some clients attending USCIS interviews. The majority of them are for family-based green cards, like marriage-based green cards, petitioning for parents, petitioning for kids who want to go to USCIS to attend their green card interview, or naturalization interviews, people who want to apply for citizenship. And I will just start by saying flat out, I have not had a single client detained at any of these interviews since the Trump administration took office. I prepare my clients pretty thoroughly before these interviews, and I have actually had to tell several people not to attend, and I have actually had to tell several people that there is too much risk involved with them attending USCIS interviews. And this is the reason I made this video. That doesn't apply to most people. I firmly believe that the majority of people who are applying for a green card, especially if it's like a marriage-based green card, or who are applying for citizenship naturalization, the majority of people have nothing to worry about when they attend these interviews. I have a marriage-based green card attending an interview tomorrow in New Jersey, and they just texted me and said, what are the chances that I'm gonna enter this interview and I'm gonna leave without my wife? The wife is the immigrant applying for their green card. And my response was, very close to 0% chance that's gonna happen, because this is a clean case. Your wife entered on a tourist visa. Towards the end of her tourist visa stay, the end of the 180 days, she changed her mind. Before that tourist visa even expired, we applied for adjustment of status, and that application's been pending. Now it's time for the interview. She has no prior history of misrepresentations or immigration fraud. She has 0 criminal history. She doesn't even have a traffic citation in the United States. And this is a good faith marriage with tons of evidence. So I don't even think they need to attend with an attorney. I've prepared them thoroughly, and they're actually going to be attending by themselves, as most of my clients do. I mean, we have attorneys available in the event that my clients want an attorney to attend with them, but 99% of the time, if you're thoroughly prepared and it's a clean marriage-based adjustment of status with no major criminal issues, stuff like that, my opinion, until I see information that's going to change my mind, is that you're wasting your money by bringing an attorney with you. I know a lot of attorneys in New York specifically will strongly disagree with that statement and say things like, since the Trump administration, it's such a wild card, you know, it's never a good idea to send any client to a USCIS interview without an attorney. They might be right, but I haven't had any negative experiences so far that make me change the advice that I've been giving people. Now, taking a step back to those clients who I advised would be exposing themselves to risk of getting detained when they attend these interviews, they all had prior removal orders. And we were filing I-130 petitions, which is like a family-based petition, typically through a US citizen spouse, because we need the I-130 to get approved so that we could try to reopen the old removal order and fix their deportation order so that they can now apply for adjustment of status and get their green card. It's a long, complicated situation that's available to some people in some situations, depends on a lot of variables, but in those cases, I think if you have a removal order, there's a decent chance you're gonna get picked up by ICE when you show up to your USCIS interview, which is, you know, understandable. I mean, they literally have a removal order. So like if the government's gonna deport people, it makes sense for them to go after people who have an order saying they are to be deported from the United States. Like, I'm not sure, I strongly disagree with that policy. However, the way to fix these removal orders is to reopen the old deportation proceedings. And oftentimes to do that, we need an approved petition or a pathway to permanent residence. So oftentimes the way to do it, if you have an old removal order, is you would have someone file an I-130 petition for you. Once it gets approved, if you could show that you're eligible for adjustment of status by showing you entered legally or were paroled, and you have no other disqualifying issues like crimes, and this is like a spouse or a child who's over age 21 and they're US citizens, you might be eligible for adjustment of status. And the only thing stopping you from getting your green card is that old removal order. So the procedure generally in those cases is file an I-130, go to the USCIS interview to get the I-130 approved. Sometimes there's no interview, but currently there should be for marriage-based cases. Then after it gets approved, submit a package to the Department of Homeland Security Office of Chief Counsel, basically the attorney's office, saying my client wants to reopen their old removal proceedings because they're eligible for a green card. Here's all the evidence that they're eligible. Here's evidence that they're a good person, contributing to society, and warrant a favorable exercise of discretion. And if the Department of Homeland Security agrees that your client deserves a green card, they will join your motion to reopen. Then you need to prepare a motion from yourself and the Department of Homeland Security. Now that they've joined it, send the joint motion to the immigration judge. The judge will reopen the hearing, terminate removal proceedings, which fixes the old deportation order, and now your client can apply for adjustment of status, presumably with USCIS, and they no longer have a removal order standing in the way. This procedure isn't really effective right now for a variety of reasons. You can't get the approved I-130 if you have a removal order because there's a really high chance that your client will get detained when they show up to the interview. And even if you could, the Department of Homeland Security as a blanket policy is not joining any motions to reopen. They're not doing anything whatsoever to help immigrants for the next few years, presumably. So this is not really an option. I consult with people all the time where I explain this option and how we need to wait a couple years before we even begin it because it's a no-go right now for a variety of reasons. Anyway, guys, went off on a bit of a tangent there, but my general point is if you're worried about having an interaction with ICE when you show up to your USCIS interview, speak to a lawyer. You know, if you want to speak with someone who's not going to sensationalize the risks to try to get you to hire them, you could always schedule a consultation with me. I promise you, I will not try to get you to hire me to attend the interview with you. I don't even want to attend these interviews, but I'll give you the actual, scoop on what the risks are from my perspective, what my opinion is, whether you do or do not need to bring an attorney. Sometimes you do need to bring an attorney, but in my experience, when it's a super clean case, as long as you're thoroughly prepared, it might be overkill and frankly a waste of money in a lot of situations. If you want to schedule a consultation with me to discuss your family-based immigration situation, I focus on marriage green cards and all family-based green cards for spouses, parents, children, even siblings, naturalization, and deportation defense. So if you want to talk about any of these topics, whether you just have questions or you want to create a strategy or you want to hire an attorney and you just want to speak to me to see if the attorney for you, schedule a consultation. The direct booking link is in the video description below. I'm an immigration attorney with an office in New York, but I handle these cases nationwide and I have clients around the United States. I would love to speak to you about your case, and I'll see you guys next time for another video.